Okay, you might want to make a copycat of the bourbon and bow tie bracelets like these. They're very easy to make, and I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to be making one exactly like this one. The first thing you need to do is measure your own hand. You need a soft tape measure like you use for sewing. You need to take your hand and fold it together like this, and then you're going to measure around the biggest part of your hand. And I'm going to hold it with my chin. Okay, mine is 8 inches. Okay, I'm going to add a 1/4 inch. Then you need a graduated glass. Any glass will do. You're going to mark on your glass. Since my measurement was 8, I'm going to go to 8 1/4 because as you close the bracelet, it kind of shrinks. Okay, so I'm right at 8 1/4 here, and that's going to be my line where I make my bracelet. The first thing you want to do is take your wire. This is the exact kind of wire that I recommend. It's made by Artistic Wire, 20 gauge. This looks gold. It is called tarnish resistant brass. That's very important. I always use a yardstick because I like the way this is. I go down 36 inches, which is 1 yard, and then I hold it with my hand. And I come back to the other end and I measure to a total of 52. So 16 more inches. Okay, then I cut with this tool right here. You can use wire cutters like maybe your husband or your family has, but I don't prefer that. You're going to take your wire and hold it with one hand and just turn the glass while trying to keep all the different wires up on top of your tape line, okay? It does not matter if they're all in a line or if they're all on top of each other. It really doesn't matter. They're going to eventually be all bound up because you're going to close this and make them all on top of each other. So it really doesn't matter. Just hold it with each hand, just switching your hands and keeping it snug against the glass. All the people I've taught this bracelet method to tell me this is the very hardest part of the entire bracelet. So if you can master this, you can do anything. It's really, once you get going and you've made a few of them, it is not that difficult. You just don't want one loop to be really bigger than the rest, so I do encourage you to keep tightening as you go around. Okay, now mine is together. Can you see how there's an end and there's an end? Okay, you're going to clasp it tightly like this. Now you're going to lift it up and pinch it between the two sections. You're going to make a 90-degree turn. See that? Sticking straight up. You're going to wrap this around up to 3 times. There's 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's room to go more. You really don't want to go more. I'll explain more as we go. Okay, clip it with the same wire clipper. The other tool that you need is a bent pair of pliers. You're just going to take it and make sure that nothing is poked out so that it can't hurt your arm. Like if you were, always put your finger on it, make sure. Okay, now you're going to take the bracelet, you're going to turn it completely around in your hand, and now you're going to make another straight. See, there's the one you closed. Now you're going to close as close as you can to this one because this is actually going to be under your first stone. You go around 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Okay, you've got a little bit of extra wire. Just trim that off. Snip and close this down. See how it's sticking up? You do not want that like that because that will hurt you, scratch your skin, snag your sweater. Don't want that. Okay, they're closed down. This is the basic bracelet. Now you notice we put it back on here. It's not as big as it was a minute ago. As soon as you close it with these wires, it's going to shrink up a little. That's why we went ahead and made it 8 1/4 to start with. It's going to eventually end up to be exactly 8 inches. Okay, now we're going to take our first beads. We're going to use these mint colored beads right here. And I'm going to make the same style I showed you in the beginning with 3 beads at each of the 3 stations. So we're going to take another piece of our gold wire. You're going to eventually need 3 pieces. I don't recommend cutting but one at a time because you might find that you need a piece that's longer or shorter than the first piece. So you just sort of guesstimate somewhere between 10 and 13 inches. I think I'm just going to go with 11.5 inches right now. And I do like using the yardstick because it can just sit here across my lap, and I do use it again. Then you're going to take the end of the wire, you're going to measure 2 1/4, and you're going to make a straight bend, just like this. Okay, now you're going to thread your beads onto your real long piece right here. There's 1, 2, 3. Now, you do not have to use 3. You could choose to use 1. You could use 2. You could use whatever suits you. You are the artist at this point. But see how the first place I'm going to put them is over where we close the bracelet. You're hiding that, okay? You're going to hold that as best you can with your finger. You're going to push with your index finger and pull up with your thumb. On this one, you're going to wrap 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got a little left, no problem. You just snip that right off and then snug it down with your tool. This is your bent pliers. These are different than pliers you might find in your husband's work. They're smooth on the inside. They're designed for jewelry. They sell them at Michael's. They sell them at all kinds of jewelry store, with jewelry supplies. Okay, I made this in first. Now we're going to switch it around in your hand. I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, you would reverse this and start on the left side. It's certainly up to you. It's up to your comfort level. Now, I started coming down this way. I'm now going to start on the other side, so I'm going to thread my wire through. And all I'm going to do this first time is come up 1 time. I'm not even wrapping it around. I'm just looping it around. Now, in order for these beads to be sturdy, you go around and around on the outside of them. So you're going to come around, and I'm going to go on this side of them, and I'm going to just keep twirling it around. See, here's my end where I'm eventually going to wrap, and see, when you get to this place, you have to decide, do I have enough to go down and around and still make loops on this side? It's kind of a guesstimation. I've got this much left. I think I have enough to go around one more time. Okay. Sure enough, I have this much left. So my goal is to go around 5. 1, 2. I didn't make it, okay? So maybe I shouldn't have gone around that last little time. However, it is not a big problem. See, I had the first loop that I made when I first came down and around. It's just not that big of a deal. I always tell the people that I'm teaching, I bet when you look at someone else's jewelry, you do not make note that this side has 5 loops and this side has 3 loops. So please don't worry about that. That's not a big deal. However, now you know that your 11.5 inches that you picked is a little too short. So I'm going to go ahead and do 12 on this next cut. That's why I tell you not to cut all your wires at one time. So now I'm going to cut 12 inches. And then I'm going to start my 2 1/4. That measurement never changes down here because that's exactly what it takes to make 5 wraps is 2 1/4 inches. So then you're going to thread on your 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I eyeball this. You want to make a station every third of the bracelet. I'm going to put one here. I'm going to put one here. So I'm just going to eyeball this. The other thing that you need to remember is these can slide. So if you get it too close or too far away to the next one, you can slide it back where you want it to go. Okay, here's 1. Push with that index finger. Pull with your thumb. That's 2, 3, 4. And I want to show you, mine are really tight, but what if you don't get one tight? Okay, that one's way over there. All right, that is not a problem. You just take this great tool that you own and you just snug it over. And look, perfect, no problem. And so you are just gonna just keep tightening it up on both sides and see how it's sort of poking out? I'm just going to snug that down. All right, so now we're done. I think it stayed in the place I wanted it, so I'm going to turn it around in my hand. Again, you know, I'm right-handed, so I start with the one side every time. Okay, now I'm going to, this time I know I'm going to be able to go around because we added a 1/2 inch to our length. So we're just 1 time, 2 times. This is our 3rd time around. Okay, now here we go. We've already got 1 loop, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Okay, great. You can always adjust. I mean, it's just really all up to you how you want it to look. I'm kind of precise. I prefer the 5 and the 5. The 5 and the 3 does not send me over the edge. But if you are going to make these for sale, or if you're thinking of, you know, whatever kind of workmanship you would like. So now we're on the 3rd one. I'm definitely going to cut another 12-inch piece and we'll be finished with our bracelet. Each one takes approximately 15 minutes to 20 minutes. Once you get the hang of it and you know what you're doing. The wire cost about $10. I'm bending my 2 1/4 inch again for my 3rd time and feeding my beads on. I was starting to tell you though that the wire itself cost about $10. I think it says it's 75 yards of wire, or no, 78 feet of wire, excuse me, and it makes approximately 11 bracelets. I make them 8 inches, so that's for me to make that many bracelets. We're starting again the same way. We're just going to start with our right hand, make 5 loops. The wire just goes right around so easily. It's very, it's not difficult at all to bend. And then you just want to always use your tool to make it look nice and finished and tight. I think it would be a terrible thing to, you know, snag your sweater or whatever. Okay, I also kind of make mine with my middle bead kind of humped up a little bit. You can see it very clearly on these two. I just like the way that looks, like a little triangle kind of. Okay, so now I'm going to come in on the other side like I've done on each of the other two. Make as tight of a, you know, loop as you can, and then go around and around on the outside a couple of good times. It is something that as you've made these more and more, you'll have a better eye for it. Okay, we've already got the 1 loop that we made. We're going to go 2, 3, 4. We didn't quite make 5. I'm not going to cry over that. I hope you won't if that happens to you. It is not a problem. You just snug this under, and then ta-da, you are done with your bracelet. And I will put this on. It looks fantastic. Wow. Good luck. Make anything you want to make.